Come with me today and we've got an old Passat PD which has got, well, it's having a new timing belt and it's also got a funny little rattle on it and a vibration which I'm going to show you now. Now you're probably not going to hear me when I put it close to the fault itself, but we've got an alternator run-on pulley and it's causing the belt to flap a little bit like this. Now before we go getting too involved in the vehicle, we're going to drain the coolant out of the bottom hose which is on the left hand side and drain that coolant into a nice little receptacle. Now we need to move around to the nitty and gritty and making a little bit of access for ourselves to get to the timing belt which is underneath this cover. Remove the intake pipe out of the way, the fuel filter and also the header tank. Now that we've made a little bit of access for ourselves, we need to make a start on getting the engine mount off. But before we do, we're just going to take it up in the air, get the wheel off, get all the inner wheel arch off so we've got access to then the bottom of the engine. Once we've removed all the engine mounts there by the floor, keep the bolts in them so you know which way they go back in. We need to remove now this alternator tensioner. It's 213s, but before you take the belt off, pull the tensioner back and put a pin in it and it'll help you remove it. And then once that's out of the way now, we can remove the lower timing belt cover, but to do that we need to come into the inner arch and remove the crank pulley. I think they're M8s or M10s, one of them, and we'll get that pulley off. Once we've got everything stripped out of the way now, we can get this engine timed up. Now if you just look here, somebody's already put a belt on it before. This car has done 195,000 miles, so it is on its second timing belt. We're not going to be using their marks, we're going to be using our own marks which are set by the manufacturer. We're going to be putting all the locking pins where they should be. Now we've got the engine timed up. If you have a look, their marks are 180 degrees out. This little tuft area, that needs to be at 12 o'clock. Then this locking pin for the camshaft needs to slide in there, like so. That'll slide all the way through into the cylinder head. Now that camshaft is locked. Let's make our way around to the crankshaft. Now on the crankshaft pulley there is a tiny little triangle which lines up with the arrow on the timing tool. There is different ones of these, so make sure you're using the right one, whether it's an oval one or a round one, and it should slide in the teeth on the pulley correctly. Now sometimes you might just have to just give it a little bit of a tweak and it'll slide in like that beautifully. Once we're happy that everything is now locked up, you can go ahead and remove, well, slacken off the 313s holding your camshaft pulley, and then we need to jump on the 15 on the tensioner, slacken it off, and then we can remove this belt. Now because I don't like mess, we take the car up in the air. You don't have to, but I put a block of wood underneath the drive shaft just so we can take it up. We can get a lovely little receptacle and we can catch all this water now once we remove this water pump with the 310 mils. Just like that. Now one thing I do hate over the years of being a mechanic is antifreeze on the floor, because it is awfully greasy and it makes a horrible mess. So catch it where you can, just keep your working area a little bit tidy. And that now is the old water pump off. We're going to get the brand new Schaffer INA one and put a little bit of red rubber grease around that O-ring. Make sure that your mounting area on the block is nice and clean. Just give it a bit of a clean with a bit of 3M Scotch pad and we can get it on and torqued up. Now to be able to get the timing belts back on these easily, what you need to do is a little pin that you put in the tensioner. Put the tension all the way on it, and then all you've got to do is nip it up, and that tensioner now will stay where it is so you can get that belt on perfectly. Now once you're happy with the belt, how it's fitted, you start with the crankshaft, work your way clockwise. Make sure that these pulleys are still nice and slack, because it will need to move in a minute. We need to remove this pin here out of the tensioner. So what we're going to do, just slacken it off. See it spring back, and you'll also see at the same time that this camshaft pulley is moving. Once you remove that pin now, we can go ahead, get a tension tool, and we can get this belt. Make sure that that's nice and slack. And you'll see now that the arrow, the pointer, comes round to this mark here. You watch the camera be in the way. Oh no, you can still see it. What we need to do is then nip it up. That is perfect, and then we can get it torqued up. Now we've got everything nice and tight, including the camshaft pulley, we can now remove our timing pins, like so. Put them to one side. And we can turn that engine over twice now and make sure that all our marks are lined back up. I'm pretty certain there will be. I'm not going to bore you putting it all back together. I've put all the bottom end, all the bottom covers back on now. Remember at the beginning of the video where I showed you that alternator belt flapping around? Well, it is actually this alternator pulley, and it has failed. There's a little clutch in there and they seize up solid. So what we need to remove it is a little alternator pulley removal tool, and it is righty loosey, lefty tighty, opposite way round. Anyway, let's get it off. And just like that, that car now is all back together. We've got some fresh antifreeze in it. All we're going to do is get on the key and give it a big starter-rooney. Absolutely perfect. Now you can see that tensioner down there is not flapping around, and that car now sounds so much healthier. And there you have it. That is one timing belt and an overrun alternator pulley replaced on a Volkswagen Passat. And this car has done about 195,000 miles, and it'll do a lot more, because that engine is an absolutely amazing engine. Anyway, I'm going to let it get hot now, wait for the fans to cut in, double check the coolant, and yeah, let's get it in.